So we're here in Seattle at the
Jackson Fish Market.
With who are you?
I'm Hillel Cooperman.
And I'm Jenny Lamb.
Yeah, and we know each other from Microsoft.
Back in the day, yeah.
And you're one of the top designers in the world.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you know, when you work for Microsoft on
sure
one of the most important products of the world, you know, you can say that.
I agree with you.
Yeah. What is
Jackson Fish Market?
Because I haven't really talked to you guys on camera before about your new thing. You're not at Microsoft anymore. You both were at Microsoft doing Windows work on Windows, and Jenny did all sorts of stuff at Microsoft. Yeah. Did the stage at PDC and all sorts of fun stuff.
So about a year and a half ago, myself and Jenny and our other partner, Walter Smith, founded Jackson Fish Market. And in some ways, we're yet another web startup.
Yeah.
No different. There's a,
but you're focused on design.
Well, yeah.
You have a real good core competency of design here.
That's one of our values.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other, even before you get to the sort of the values of the things we make, I think we're also pretty different in a variety of ways. First of all, and not that this is completely unique, but it's certainly not the prevailing model. We haven't taken any investment from angels or venture. We decided to bootstrap, and we do that by consulting on the side. And the second thing is there's no sort of long-term plan for some big exit. In fact, this business is designed to let us create a whole variety of hopefully really cool and beautiful and exciting software for consumers on the web. Not just one thing, but we got lots of ideas for stuff we want to do. And it's designed to kind of be a home for us to continue to do that for, quite some time. Yeah. And I think that we all had a really good experience at Microsoft, and then we wanted to do something different. And that different thing was to focus on making really small, handcrafted pieces of software, typically for the web, and typically focused on end users and consumers. And we had a list, honestly, about 40 or 50 things we want to do, not all at once. And our ability to do those and do them in the way we want is really kind of precious to us. And so you mentioned design, that handcrafted nature of the software, that's definitely something we focus on. And we think it's something everyone should focus on, but it's certainly a core value for us in terms of the stuff that we build.
Yeah. I think that's part of the, I don't have a strong brand of what Jackson Fish Company is because you're just getting started. I love your website. I mean, you can sort of see it has an interesting feel to it and an interesting name. Where did the name come from?
So we named it after my grandfather's fish market. So it was called Jackson's Fish Market in Detroit, started around 1943, and the idea was that, you mentioned something off camera, say, oh yeah, the marketing challenge for startups is to appear big. Well, we want to appear small. And the truth is, we just want to appear what we are, and that's small, and we don't really, some people say, oh, you're going to get big someday? And we're like, no, probably not. If we had 15 or 20 people someday, wow, that would be pretty big. Yeah. But we think there's an enormous amount of products we can make just being a small company. Yeah. And frankly, the name was to kind of evoke that kind of mom and pop personal feel. Yeah. They were a fish market, but they made stuff. They made pickles, and my grandfather made them, and then they'd sell them. And so if you didn't like it, you could go to the guy that actually made it and say, hey, what's with this? So, that kind of neighborhood feel feels good to us. And you mentioned the website, the whole top half of the website there is the street scene where the fish market is, and in fact you'll even notice there's every time we ship a new piece of software, a new little retail establishment shows up on the street. And if you want the really double extra secret hint, whenever we're about to ship, 2 or 3 weeks before, you see construction start happening on the street, and so something's coming. You can try and peek through the plywood.
Yeah, there's scaffolding and cones and things like that, and actually only a few people have noticed. So this is the first time we've publicly
mentioned it. It's too subtle.
What is this?
But, at Microsoft we did we called that a soft launch. We hinted that something was coming through various gestures, either on our websites or out in the community. We would do things that would tell people that something new is coming. And it turns from bright to dark during the various times of the day.
I think is it Seattle time?
Seattle
yeah.
time.
So Jackson Street, we call it, when it starts getting dark in Seattle, you'll see the stores will close up, and the flowers go in the shop, and the street lamps turn on, and there's a moon out in the sky, and so it's quite adorable.
So, since you guys have a lot of design expertise and software expertise, that sort of starts coloring what I think of you, or what I think of what you're going to do. But design is becoming more and more important. Certainly Apple computers teaching the world that, right? What makes an iPhone different than a Nokia phone? Well, the Nokia phone actually has better stuff, better feature list on it, right? I mean, if you compare the feature list, the Nokia phone wins. But the iPhone is cooler, it's more useful, it's more fun to use, and that's design,
yeah,
right?
I think that the iPhone's a great example, but it's also a great example of a product that's authentic to its core, and it does a really great job at thinking about everything end to end. Not just the phone itself and the features and the software on it, but how they communicate what it's about in their ad campaigns and their website, and how they talk about it. They seem to have one identity, and not several different voices. So.
Yeah, and I think we're trying to have our identity, and it's us. I mean, it's not something we manufactured. We're small group of folks who really love making high quality software and are going to make lots of it. Yeah. The other thing I was going to add just to your meta point is, I think right now basically any product that achieves sort of mass market status, where a quarter or half the population is using it, the major differentiator between any of these products really is design. I mean, look at cars, look at televisions. Yes, I know every decade or two they come out with some big advance. We went from the big TVs to the flat screens or whatever it is. But the truth is, ultimately, when you pick the number of cup holders, whatever, the features are basically the same. It's really about the design, and it's about, and this is what people need to understand. And some people kind of dismiss this, but I think it's important. Aligning yourself with a product, with a service, with a company, is a statement about you as an individual. And some people will dismiss and say, oh, it's a fashion statement. But it's a statement about what your values are. And the companies that do the best are the companies that consistently show what their values are. Those values are genuine, and they don't sway from them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least when I go out and shop, at Target or whatever, I'm making decisions that aren't quite necessarily rational. They're emotional.
So how are you going to bring that irrationality
Not
into
necessarily irrational,
but emotional.
They're not Vulcan in their logic.
Yeah. How are you? I saw a company you're working with earlier called Smartsheet, and we'll have the video from that separately up. And I saw how you helped them transform their business, and not in a simplistic way, in a pretty deep way, right? What other kinds of things are you working on, and what are you excited about? And maybe you can show me some examples of what things.
Well, other than our website and our blog, which is certainly fun, we've put out 3 products to date.
Yeah.
And so the model is essentially this idea that the big brand advertisers that have pretty significant budgets, and there's not a tail in this group. So you really have to kind of specialize. You can't just give them a menu of the standard options that you give to everybody. They're realizing that translating 30-second spots and billboards to the web, it doesn't work. And then they've graduated to widgets and little games and stuff like that, and they're slowly waking up to the fact that, hey, instead of the picosecond I engage someone with that video or billboard, or with the billboard, or the 30 seconds I got on that viral video, or the 3 minutes I got on that advert game, if I made something really useful to their lives that became a component of their lives, and I was disciplined about the degree to which I put advertising in it, like the brand was along for the ride, not in your face and down your throat, I might actually have an unbelievably cost-effective way to spend time with my audience and show them what my values are as a company. And this ties exactly to the discussion we were just having. Like, it's true for every company. They need to stand for something. Yeah. And software on the web that does something useful or entertaining or informative, it can be, you can spend tons of time with it, and it doesn't cost a lot to make.
Yeah.
What's interesting about it is it's hard to make it well, and we hope that we're doing it well. And let me give you a sense. So the first app we did, we took that exciting and brilliant category that everyone's excited about, e-cards, and decided to do our own version. And of course, we took our own approach.
Yeah.
So what we decided to do was a virtual flower site. And this is even before all the Facebook apps came out. And you go to the site, and you pick from 8 different bouquets. And in fact, what's really interesting about this is the bouquets, we want a kind of a unique look and feel. So all the flowers that you see that make up the bouquets are actually handmade out of paper, different kinds of paper by Jenny, and then arranged with software that Walter wrote and Jenny helped him design to create a unique bouquet every time.
Wow.
To create a unique bouquet every time.
Yep.
So in fact, if we were to go, let's pick Wild on the Farm. And you can see it generated a bouquet for us. And if I want, I can hit the give me another bouquet, and it changes the vase. And I can just, we have this cute
I
note.
didn't realize that it was changing it every time.
Every time.
You're going to get a completely unique.
The cool thing that Walter helped me with was, or he wrote actually and enabled, was that I was able to design an arrangement like that, that embodied what is it called, the summertime, and so, but he was able to write software so that it randomized itself in an arrangement, but it kept the integrity of the design, and so like the flowers move, some would change, sometimes you get more sunflowers and ranunculus, and you get a different vase.
Like we haven't come up with a way to double battery life or anything for your laptop, but so it's not rocket science, but it's also not trivial to actually go and make the bouquet unique every time and yet still look good every time.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things we spend our time on here, believe it or not.
Well, it gave it an aesthetic that I didn't know that, but it felt different. It felt different than a lot of other flower sites or whatnot, because it had this aesthetic to it that I didn't even understand what you were doing. But now I totally understand that you were actually changing the arrangement on me every time I played with it. So therefore, it felt different because I wasn't seeing the same kind of static display every time. I was wondering if you were going to take that and make virtual goods for Second Life or for, Facebook or for MySpace or something like that, like little virtual goods that are customized, right, or are different every time you refresh the page.
I mean, I don't think there's anything stopping us from going in that direction. Right now, we're really focused. And it's actually interesting you say that. People were like, what are you doing? We're like, well, we're making a whole range of things. And they were like, we don't get that.
Yeah.
And so we made this, and everyone was like, aha, you're going to be the virtual goods guys. And we're like, well, not necessarily. And it's not that we don't want to go deep on some of these things. We do. But also, it's kind of the acknowledgement that, it's hard to know what's going to catch on.
Yeah. The reason that caught on, by the way, there was a conference called the Virtual Goods Summit, and it was right before this came out. And it's like, damn, these guys are smart. They're coming to the latest conference, and then they come out with this really brilliant. And also, one of the speakers there was Hot or Not, which had flowers that you can pay $10 for these virtual flowers, and they're static flowers, that are the same every time you see them, right? And so we were thinking, man, these guys are brilliant because they're going to come out with these virtual flowers that are different, have this aesthetic and
they wilt and they die.
And they wilt and they die, right? And man, that's brilliant, because then all of a sudden you have a virtual good that you spend $10 on for your Hot or Not date,
right,
and it actually looks a lot better than the one that they put in there. You know? And keep in mind, a normal flower costs what, $3, right?
Yeah.
So you're spending 3 times for the virtual good than you are for the real thing, right?
Yeah, but the virtual good lets you connect with the cute girl in the picture, or guy. So there is some extra value that they're providing even without the actual flower.
Yeah, and well, that's where the expectation was, but. Oh, you guys are positioned well for this new world, because all the VCs in Silicon Valley are trying to find other business models that are beyond just advertising. Because when we hear advertising as a business model, our eyes glaze over, because we know that they're just that translates into, we hope Google will buy us someday.
Right. Well, no, you're exactly right, and actually that's kind of why we head in this direction. For us, it's doing freemium or subscriptions or little microtransactions, open to all that stuff, all good. And if one of our apps catches on in that direction, we'll go there for sure. But the truth is, a lot of the startups today, and this is not a diss on them, but first they try to build their app, and then they try to get a big audience for that app, and then they hope that the audience is a valuable audience and an audience that clicks on ads, which, as we know, is not always the case in many scenarios. And then they hope that they can get advertisers to do. We said, whoa, that's a big, scary, hard proposition. Our attitude is, look, we're making these pieces of software. It's very difficult to get somebody to catch on. In fact, it's basically, I would argue, luck. Hopefully, our batting average maybe is a little better than some because of the caliber of the stuff we're putting out. Hopefully, people perceive it that way. But we may just be batting same average as everyone else. And so at that point, what's important for us is to do a lot of different things, see what works, see what catches on, and most importantly, from a business perspective, go to those brand advertisers and say, look, traffic is a commodity. You can go to any one of hundreds of ad networks and get distribution for whatever you want to do. And in fact, most of the big brands have enough traffic on their own websites that they don't even need to advertise to drive traffic to something. They just need to put it on their own site. Our apps that hopefully people find beautiful, adorable, and hopefully, most importantly, useful in some way in their life, they're kind of like a party room.
Yeah.
So the advertiser is going to throw a party. Well, guess what? We have a great place for you to throw that party with great views, great food, and guess what? Our rooms are designed so that when your guests come, and you got to get the guests there, but they'll be more likely to invite other guests. Yeah. So when you look at They're Beautiful, there's a widget in there for getting daily fresh flowers on your blog. There's another widget to embed your greenhouse. Every user gets a greenhouse where they have to put their flowers because after a few days they start to wilt and eventually die. So you have to water them every few days, which brings you back to the site. And you'd be surprised. There's a small core group of people that water their flowers maniacally because once they're dead, they're dead. We get mail saying, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. Can you water my flowers for me while I'm gone? So, people get very attached to their bouquets.
Well, Neopets proved that there's a lot of people out there who are going to engage on a virtual thing, right? Like a pet or like a flower, like a...
Yeah. So this was our first.
Are weird, aren't they?
It's all good. So this is our first app actually, and then I just went to the after like a cooking show, but our second app, all the people were like, oh, they're doing virtual flowers, and we're like, well, our second app is an online invitation service, and mostly that came from a real frustration with what's out there. I didn't say yes, Evite. And I'm sure there's wonderful and lovely people working on that, but the product it could use more. And in fact, to a certain extent, one of the early users characterized, well, that's right, or less. One of the early users characterized our site, Invitastic, as the anti-Evite, in that it does less. Yeah. Everything's less. So,
well, Evan Williams at Twitter said that's a key to his product development, right? By taking away features, you create a new value proposition, right? And in Twitter's case, he said, well, I'm going to force you to have only 140 characters, and I'm going to force you to have this design, and I'm going to force you I'm going to take away all these features that you had on blogs and other things. And no pictures, no video, nothing, right? And by doing that, I created a new product category.
Constraints force creativity. Yeah. They really do. And you find that in every well-designed thing. So we don't have recipes for Mai Tais on the site. Yeah. We don't let you upload your own background for the invitation. There's no Star Wars theme. There's no carpool arrangements, except by just typing in the response saying, hey, anyone want a carpool? Email me. Yeah. But yet it just works, and it works really well. And most importantly, when we send you the reminder via email that the party's coming the next day, we actually put the address and the time of the party in the email.
Oh my.
And I honestly, look, not to get up on our high horse, because everyone's got to run a business, and we get that, so we're not trying to be all judgy about it. But the truth is, don't do stuff just to make users' lives miserable. Yeah. Just to generate that extra page view. It's unconscionable.
They're trying to get you to click on the email, come over to them, and that generates a page view, which you get paid because you have these banner ads on.
Well, the question is, what's your focus? Is your focus creating value for people, or taking away value and exchanging that for cash? And again, I don't want to sound all high and mighty, because listen, we're starting out. We're bootstrapping. By no means have we created a successful business, and we're doing okay. We're doing good. But by no means are we over the hump. So, who knows? Maybe we'll sell out down the road and force you to click on a whole bunch of crap. But we really hope not. And our ideal is not, because that's not the kind of company we want to create.
Jenny Lamb sold out. She made me click on
you know
crap.
What? You should. You should, because I think there's enough opportunity right now on the web to create stuff that's actually of value without kind of nickel and diming users and their convenience to try and get them to get that one last click. So this is Invitastic and just real simple, straightforward. It does what it does and nothing else.
Yeah.
The third site we built was Carbon Grove. I don't know, Jenny, if you want to talk about this site and what it is and what it does.
Sure. It's a carbon reduction reminder service.
Okay.
So you basically fill out a really quick quiz, get an audit of your daily routine, and then Carbon Grove, the arborists at Carbon Grove, they provide reminders on how you can lower your carbon footprint, be a better eco-citizen.
Stop traveling so much.
Yeah, you.
And give up your business.
And it does that sort of in the form of each reminder you get, you actually plant a tree in one of the 3 forests. So we have 3 forests that we selected because there's a bunch of deforestation going on, and you can select from 3 species in each forest.
So
They're the travel posters. Yes, you should select the savanna. That one's got the coolest animals. And the acacia. So you select from one of 3 species.
Different species for each forest, all appropriate.
Right, the little monkey progress bar. And when you plant your tree, every time you visit your tree, it either grows or a little animal shows up that's indigenous to the forest. Okay. And you can browse around the forest, and this is a silver light control.
Oh, how do you like silver light, by the way?
Well, that's probably a good question for Walter, because I don't really work with it that much.
Okay. As a designer, do you find that it gives you more stuff to play with on the palette?
Certainly we have our fades, and we have this really cool parallax thing going on when you move left to right.
Moon Patrol. Oh yeah, we got some Moon Patrol technology happening here.
Okay.
Yeah, the horizon moves at a different speed than the foreground.
Very cool.
You can see, click on.
Here, so in fact, like Jenny said, every time you sign up for the reminders, and every week when you get an email reminder, you click to say you did the things you said you would do to reduce your carbon footprint, and your tree grows. So here's a tree that's been growing for a while. You can even embed the tree in your web page to show people what you're doing, and you can find other people's trees. Again, dead simple. And here, in this case, a tiger has shown up now. We did get email from fans of Carbon Grove in Africa saying there are no tigers in Africa. And actually, we found out that there's some tigers in Senegal, we believe. So we've stretched the truth just a little. So I wouldn't do any science, homework based on Carbon Grove, but it's pretty close. So, and again, you browse around, kind of like a video game almost. Here's a giraffe visiting the person's tree. And this site actually was sponsored by the folks at Microsoft. The Internet Explorer team sponsored it. They wanted to show the kind of things the kind of commitment they had around the environment, and show people about new features that they were doing. So they actually have this new web slice technology that when you use IE8, that's enabled on the site as well.
Yep.
Not to mention the Silverlight.
Aren't they actually planting real trees too?
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot to mention that. And Microsoft has done a really cool thing. Internet Explorer's done a cool thing for every tree that grows to 6 weeks. So you got to click the reminder 6 times, say you did that, they'll plant a real tree.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and so look, here it is what we're talking about. Say, oh, advertising. Well, this is advertising. Hopefully this plays some role in the user's life where they feel like, oh, I'm getting advice on how to reduce my carbon footprint if that's something they want to do. I'm getting a useful reminder every week if they want that. And I'm getting a cool little thing where I get to see my tree grow, so that's fun. It's exciting, little virtual, we're back on the virtual plants. And, of course, you'll notice that the IE logo, it's there, it's clear, it's on the side, it's small, and a real tree is getting planted if you stay committed. So to us, that's the form that advertising is going to take. Yeah. And it could be, look, I say this sort of tongue-in-cheek, but think Excel from Fidelity. You know what I mean? Think, my travel checklist app from American Airlines.
Yeah.
You know, but done well, like done, you know, like as well as 37 Signals would have done an app like that.
Yeah.
Like software is we're still just scratching the surface, and I firmly believe that brand advertisers are going to come in and fund the bulk of consumer software development on the web going forward.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. And right now we're, like you can see on our site, we're building a portfolio of sites. We started with these small ones, and they're going to get bigger and deeper and even more interesting, hopefully. But they're beautiful and Invitastic and Carbon Grove, and we're building new ones right now. We just started on new ones. And also, when brand advertisers want, they can come to us not just to look at one of our existing ones, but Microsoft came to us and we didn't have Carbon Grove built. They said, we want to do something green. And we said, well, we have this idea. We looked at our inventory of ideas and pulled out. They said, great, we love it, let's do it. So we're cool either repurposing an existing site for an advertiser and they're the exclusive sponsor, or working from scratch. And just as a side note, the cool thing is, to build these sites, very pricey.
Yeah.
To sponsor these sites, much less.
Yeah.
And so it works within
Because
our
you
budget
can
as
reuse
well.
that technology in a new way down the road.
We own the sites.
Yeah.
Typically, if you go to a consulting group, you buy the intellectual property. You're paying by the hour. It costs what it costs. It's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. With us, it's much, much cheaper. But in the end, we own the site. And the truth is, for most marketing groups, that's not really a problem because their campaigns last 6 to 18 months anyway.
Yeah.
And then they shut down whatever site they built anyway. So we just keep it.
That's really cool. What are the trends you're seeing happen in advertising? I mean, certainly Microsoft says, you know, Kevin Johnson over there says, we got to turn our company from a company that just sells software like Windows and Office to one where we're more like Google and selling advertising or doing stuff like this. What do you see happening in the online space, and what are the trends, and what are you guys really dreaming about a world that's going to show up?
Look, we tend to focus on the brand advertising space. Direct response, Google's shown how to do that very well, and they're kicking butt at it. And that's a great business, and that'll evolve as Microsoft and Google and Yahoo hash it out. The brand advertising business, though, is very big money. Yeah. And what we're seeing is this trend that we showed you. So let me give you some specific examples. The best example I can think of is Nike. So back in October in the New York Times, Nike, the folks from Nike were quoted as saying that a huge chunk, a very significant chunk of their consumer marketing money was not going to be spent on TV ads, not going to be spent on getting fancy athletes to sponsor, to endorse their stuff, not going to be spent on billboards or magazine ads, but be spent on online services that their audience found useful. So have you ever seen Nike Plus?
Yep.
So they have all sorts of services online for runners, where they compare notes, where they track their times, all kinds of stuff like that. And they're getting huge engagement. Yeah. Now, it's great that Nike can build that stuff and build that in-house. That's not necessarily true for every big brand advertiser like a Procter & Gamble or like a Toyota or whoever it happens to be. And so we think more and more useful, not that there's wrong with distractions, they're fun once in a while too, but truly things that become a part of your life, either because they're fun or informative or help you communicate or just help you get stuff done, those are going to be sponsored by advertisers, and it is happening today.
Well, even video is being sponsored. Seagate sponsors my show for exactly these reasons. Right. Anybody still watching up to this point, is highly engaged, right?
Yeah.
And
we hope.
Yep. And they get an audience that they care about and have an engagement with that audience, and that's the new software as well. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun, and great job on the flowers. My wife loves them, by the way. So cool. I make hits every time I send her those.
It's a funny thing. Some people are like, "What, you think this is going to get you off the hook sending real flowers?" And what we found is, of course, it does not. Yeah. But we found is there's something between just sending an email thank you and sending full out flowers, where you want something a little special, and this kind of fits that little niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Come visit jacksonfish.com.
Yay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron.